those of you who don't know, Myanmar recently had another military coup. Like, surprise. But yes, another military coup in Myanmar. Myanmar, for those of you who don't know, used to be called Burma. It used to be a British colony, late 19th century till around 1940s. It was a British colony. Now, the problem with Myanmar is a similar problem to many post-colonial Asian and African nations. When the British, French, insert nation left, they left very bad institutions. They left no real way, no decent government, nothing. Now, there are some exceptions, obviously. India is an exception, which includes Pakistan, obviously, and Bangladesh, because they were all one country at the time when the British left. So there are some South Africa, some differences here or there. But as a general rule, most of these, post-colonial nations were nation states created because Europeans decided this is what I want a country to be. And then they left whatever they could leave as their legacy. And in many cases, it wasn't a very good legacy. Myanmar, no difference, right? No difference. It has been a terrible legacy. And what they usually leave behind is the concept of democracy with an iron fist. That's what most of the time is left behind. And most of the people who in these nations trying to become modern nations decide, you know what? I want to be a modern nation, so I'm going to act like the modern countries, and I'm going to have a military, and I'm going to try to create some type of democracy. Well, the problem with forcing democracy, and we see it all over when we try to force it in Iraq or force it in Afghanistan, if democracy doesn't come naturally from your culture, not only do you not have a culture of democracy, but you also don't have the institutions that are required for democracy to work well. Luckily, in America, we had institutions. We had literally town hall meetings and gatherings, and we had ideas. The British had the Magna Carta. Like, we had ideas. France had Rousseau, and is that right? Did I get it right? Yeah. But all those guys who were talking about it and such. So we had all these things that we were growing and building to create democracy, institutions that people believed in and such. A lot of these nations didn't have that. If they had anything close to that, it was controlled by whoever the colonizers were. So what they wound up happening in many cases is weak democracies. Now, there's a saying. You might say, well, wait a minute, Larry. Democracies don't war on each other. Yeah, that's a story that we tell ourselves to make us feel good. Democracies war on each other all the time. All the time. For those of you who don't know, Japan in World War II was a democracy. The worst thing you have, the worst type of nation, is a broken democracy. Because that means mob rule. That's the worst. When it comes to war, that is. Right? Because Japan was a democracy during World War II. Some of you may or may not know this. It was a broken democracy. Their constitution was a disaster. And I won't go too deep, but some of you will get this. In Japan, the constitution was so bad that if the military didn't provide the government with a war minister, a minister of war, the government would fall. That's how bad it was. The government would just fall. No government. So the military, by default, took over the government of Japan because it controlled it via a mistake in the constitution. And because they had no culture of this, there weren't enough people to go, oh, we should change. Didn't work. And literally we get Imperial Japan from that. Germany, Nazi Germany. Nazi Germany was democracy. It was the Weimar Republic from after World War I. Another broken democracy. Broken democracy gets us Nazis. Turkey, today, democracy. Yes, broken democracy yet again and again and again. Broken democracies are a problem. Myanmar, prior to about a week ago, democracy. Broken democracies. Broken democracies are a big problem in this world. Myanmar is just the most recent one. As democracies break, mob rule becomes the answer, and people very often decide to look at the one institution that most people trust, the military. Whatever country you're in, you tend to, not everyone obviously, but you tend to trust your military because usually it's drafted or taken from volunteers from your own people. Usually, the military is not an elite fighting force anymore. That's back in the days of the king. That might have been true here or there with knights and things of that sort, samurai, that type of stuff. But today, the military is usually taken from your towns and villages and states and cities, and it tends to be an institution that you trust. So, when things collapse, here's the military. Happened in Japan, Germany, Turkey, now Myanmar. Now, why do we care about that kind of thing? Because there are a lot of broken democracies, tons of them. Belarus. I mean, I could just keep naming them, right? There's so many of them. And a lot of our democracies are now starting to struggle, particularly if they're newer democracies. One of the advantages that the British have is their idea or concept of democracy is really old. So that's an advantage, I guess. But still, even theirs might fall or become weak. And if it becomes weak, we struggle. We are struggling in our democracy. Ours is starting to become broken. We're in trouble. That's the biggest issue. We are in trouble. And you know it as well as I do. This democracy is in trouble. Broken democracies, things don't end well. They don't end well. They end with a strong man. Sometimes one, but almost always strong man. Where they end with a strong man, that's what happens. Or they end in socialism, or both. Either a strong man or socialism, or both. They're just different ways to dictatorship. I mean, they're two different paths. The socialism one feels nicer because, like, we're given free stuff. So it feels nicer, but it still goes to strongman dictatorship. The other one just goes kind of right to it. But still, it's faster, more efficient to get right to it. But, one just feels nicer. But it's the same thing. It ends in dictatorship. The democracy begins to fail, even though officially it's a democracy. So we have to worry about this now. You might say, well, Larry, how in the world are we going to fix this? How can we fix this? How can we fix all these things? Well, let me tell you, it may not seem obvious, but oh my God, to me it is. To me, it absolutely is. Trade, 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 commerce, commerce, commerce. Commerce and trade and commerce and trade and commerce and trade. So the first thing is trade. The second thing is trade. The third thing is trade. The fourth thing is commerce. And the fifth through 4,000th thing is commerce. The more we do that, the more people are taking their energies and putting it into that instead. Now, is that a cure-all? No, it's not a panacea. It isn't. And I'm joking when I say the 4,000. It's not a panacea. But it, without question, is the first step to moving everything forward. It's the first step as people begin to grow themselves and have more to lose. Remember the book 1984? Perpetual War? Perpetual war is when everyone's always poor and just having a scarcity mindset. I've got to hold on to this. If I just hold on, he'll protect me from losing what I have now. Scarcity mindset comes from broken cultures and broken democracies, which means I need a strong man, military protect me, which means war. Not just that every single military run nation is run poorly, it's run by the military, and then always requires conquest to keep growing. Yes, that's why they invade neighbors. Yes, it requires conquest to keep growing. That's kind of how that works, or begins to collapse itself. Commerce. This is our time. Right now, this is our time. You want to help these democracies? You want to help culture across the world? It is time right now for the United States to end all trade embargoes. Every one of them. We got them in Cuba and Iran and North Korea, Syria, Sudan, Venezuela, I think maybe a couple other countries. Tons of them. End them all. Within the next 6 months, end all of them. Just boom, 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 end it. Say, hey, none. No embargo. You want to trade? Trade. You don't want to trade? Don't trade. But it's open. We are not going to stop you at all. Step one, end all trade embargoes. Why? Because it gets us rethinking. We're recovering from COVID right now. I'm sorry, we're recovering from the COVID response, the government's response to COVID right now. So I have an idea. Open up 6 or 7 new countries to trade. Boy, will that get some people thinking. That'll get some people thinking, how the hell do I trade whatever, corn into North Korea or whatever is the thing? How do I trade vacuum cleaners in Iran? Whatever is the thing of the day. Boy, will that get people thinking. That'll get new ideas. That'll get us thinking, how do we open this up over there? Yeah, it will. Yes, it will. It'll get them thinking, maybe I don't want to like be mad and bomb America. Maybe instead I want to trade with them and make some money. Maybe I want to grow a middle class. The biggest defense against a military takeover, a junta, whatever it is, the biggest defense against any strongman leadership is a strong middle class. Biggest defense. You want a strong democracy? Strong middle class. Every single time. That's like 100%. Every time. Strong middle class equals strong democracy. More broken, less democracy. That's how that works. Every single time. So how about we start doing that? Build some middle class. Build it throughout the entire world, including our country. End the trade embargoes now. But Larry, they may not end it against us, or they're bad guys. How about we stop trying to be righteous and shake our fist at people? Instead, be really righteous. Stop punishing them. Is the average North Korean or the average, Sudanese person or the average, Cuban, are they trying to hurt us in some way, shape, or form? No, their governments are. So what? Why are we punishing the people? Why are we punishing the people? If we want to really be righteous, let them buy our stuff. Let's buy their stuff. You want to really be righteous? Let's do that. Here's my argument, and I will always say it. Our culture of freedom is stronger than any bomb we will ever make. Stronger than any bomb we will ever drop. Stronger than any military invasion we could ever mount. Our culture of freedom is super powerful. It is powerful. Why don't we use that instead? We've been embargoing the 6 or 7 or 8 countries I've just mentioned for how many decades? Has it worked? No, it's been failing for decades. I have an idea. Try to end the embargoes for just 1 decade. Not like 8, just 1 decade. End the embargoes. See what happens. If I'm wrong, slap them back on. Fine, slap them back on. Larry Sharpe was wrong. If I'm right, win-win. But I'm going to go further than that. I'm not done. We should end all sanctions. Now, all of them. Every single sanction. End it within the next 6 months. Russia, Belarus, Myanmar, Zimbabwe. We have sanctions on all kinds. Liberia. I've forgotten half the countries we have. Yemen. We have sanctions on, 20 countries. I'm not sure. It's something like that. It's a lot of countries. End them. But we can't have these evil people spending their money. Why? Did all of a sudden terrorism stop? Did all of a sudden these states now became awesome states that take care of their people? No, it doesn't work. It is us trying to be righteous, saying we're going to punish them. And the only people we're punishing are the average guy or gal on the street in both their country and ours. That's who we're punishing. The average everyday person in their country and ours. Their elites are doing just fine. Their elites are still in the palaces, doing just fine, still being warlords. They're doing just fine. And so are our elites, doing just fine. Who's in trouble? Their man and woman on the street and ours. End the sanctions right away. Right away. But Larry, then they might not end sanctions against us. So what? If their middle class grows, they will put pressure upon their government to end it too. That's how that works. If our middle class will pressure us, then theirs will pressure them. That's how that works. Someone has to say stop. At one point, someone has to be the better person. Ronald Reagan said we're the city, the shining city on the hill. All right, I'll buy that. Let's be that. Let's be that. Jesus said, turn the other cheek. Turn it. I'm in. Let's do it. Gandhi, an eye for an eye and we all go blind. I don't want to go blind. Let's all see. Let it go. Let it go. What's the worst that happens? They're still crappy countries? That's the worst. They still do bad things? That's the worst that happens. But we might get something and their people might. I'm going to go one step further. End all tariffs. Every one of them. We have tariffs against the EU, tariffs against China, Mexico, all kind of stuff. Metals and machines and cosmetics and food and all kind of stuff. End all of them. End them. 6 months. You got 6 months to get it till, hey, it's done. End it. But Larry, they won't end tariffs against us. So I would like to trade. I would like more entrepreneurs. We've been devastated by the government response to COVID, and we still want to be righteous and shake our fists at these evil, well, tariff them. No, I want us to buy and sell goods so that we can make some money, so these entrepreneurs can get back on their feet, so we can make some jobs, so we can grow, but more importantly, so we can talk to each other. I would like that. I would like us to talk to each other again. End all of them on every single thing unilaterally. But Larry, they're going to have a trade war against us. Well, oh, they're going to beat us as we're trading. I guess they win the trade war. Who wins a trade war? Nobody. Nobody wins a trade war. Nobody does. Let's not do that. It's trade. Give them what they want. We'll take what we want and move on. They want to tariff us. They tariff us. Good. Let them. I don't care. Let them. What will wind up happening is some people will get a little bit. And they go, this is good stuff. I like these American goods. This is good stuff. I want more of these. How do I get more? Oh, we can't. It's too expensive because the government puts these high tariffs on it. We should stop that. How? By pressuring our own government to stop it. And they will, because that's how it happens. Now, that won't happen tomorrow. It might not even happen in 5 years. But in 10? Yes. Larry, I got to wait 10 years. We've been waiting to 80 now. We've been waiting for 80 now. Just give me 10. So how long we been doing this with Cuba? Since 50s? North Korea, 50s? What's that? 36, 70 years. 70 years. We've been, sorry, I said 80. I'm incorrect. I apologize. 70 years, not 80. I'm wrong. 70 years. Give me 10 years. That's it. Do that and watch things change. End the trade embargoes now. End the sanctions now. And all the tariffs now. If you do that in the next 6 months, begin to end it. Watch the positive change start happening. As now things shake up. Oh my God, how do I now deal with negotiating this? How do I change the tariffs? What can I sell? What can't I sell? And watch that spur innovation, and watch that spur jobs, and watch that spur new entrepreneurship, and watch that spur new products, so that we can get ourselves out of the hole that we dug ourselves in last year. The rest of the country can be better. The rest of the world can be better. If we really want to stop acting righteous and shaking our fist against the evildoers, and instead actually be righteous and protect the people who are in trouble, the poor, the working poor, and the middle class of this country and the world. End the embargo, all of them. End the sanctions, all of them. End the tariffs, all of them, unilaterally. Just do it. Now, within the next 6 months, plan it out, all gone. Watch things grow.